Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. You amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. I think this cat is going to try and do something that it should. What are you trying to do? What are you actually trying to do? Why are you jumping on me? If you jump on that, that's not going to end well for you, is it? It's not going to end well for you. Anyway, it's Monday. Marvellous Monday. You're looking absolutely marvellous. And see ya. You wait. Yeah, you're looking absolutely marvellous. This is video 2 of 2, and we're going to be going over the Wolves and Finance video. But I know the video's been removed. It's been removed because there was an error. We're going to touch on that first because there is an error. But let's just say, if you imagine a cookie with lots and lots of chocolate chips in it, there's one that shouldn't have been there. So you go, yoink, fuck that off and get rid of it. Don't be foaming at the mouth now because you want a cookie. Cat's doing the mannequin challenge. So this is the channel, this one here. So Wolves and Finance, they're a brilliant channel. They've done a video that was looking at the financials of Turning Point USA, and he got something wrong. He said, I've been informed that I made an error in the video. He'd basically mistaken John McGovern. And if I go over to my notes here, because, again, we just removed that one chocolate cookie. So red flags with high-paid individuals. It was this one here, which was the specific scrutiny is placed on a senior personnel, including John McGovern, with extraordinary salary and consultant payments across multiple entities, and on potential familial conflicts of interest involving Rob and Mikey McCoy. This one section here is wrong. It was the wrong guy. I believe Candace Owens called them out on it and said, look, this is not the right person. But there was a lot of stuff in there that belonged to be there. So let's just touch on some of the things that were accurate. Leadership changes and audit cancellation. Shortly before his death, Charlie Kirk promoted Justin Strife to COO and called for a special audit, a Doge-style audit, which was subsequently cancelled after his murder. Tyler Bowyer, previously COO, publicly stated that only standard annual audits would proceed. So red flag there, massive red flag. Why would you get rid of it if someone within the company, the CEO of the company, has basically said, look, we need to look into things here because things might not be as they should be. Surely whoever's taken on that role of CEO, Erika Kirk, she would want to continue that work. Surely, yeah? And we'll come back to that. We're going to circle round. Missing financial filings. Of the 4 related entities under the Turning Point umbrella, Turning Point USA, Turning Point Endowment, Turning Point Action, and America's Turning Point, 3 failed to file mandatory Form 990 statements for 2024, a significant deviation from past routine filings. The missing documents prevent transparency on major transfers between entities. Large inter-entity transfers. In 2024, 8.6 million was sent from Turning Point USA to America's Turning Point. The lack of corresponding financial statements means there is no accountability for how these funds were used or distributed. Then we come to the bit that we omit from this. This was the bit, what do you call it? No, it's not. We can talk on this. America's Turning Point reported millions in salary expenses despite showing 0 employees, while Turning Point USA recorded a marked decrease in workforce alongside rising payroll costs, a contradiction suggesting potential fictitious payees. Audit firm oversight issues. Despite the missing filings, the audit firm Baker Tilly issued clean opinions on the finances, echoing previous failures noted in unrelated lawsuits involving the same firm. So if there's something dodgy that you want to try and hide, get a dodgy firm who's willing to try and hide it for you. This is the bit that we remove. We don't need to speak on John McGovern. Wrong person. So, possible financial route and political loopholes. Tracing of funds indicates parallel flows through multiple entities, raising suspicion of redirection for less restricted campaign finance uses. unusual travel and external activities. Closely affiliated individuals made repeated international trips, particularly to Ukraine, stirring further suspicions given geopolitical and internal context. I do feel that this section here, however, was closely tied in to the individual who was wrong, the John McGovern situation. So there could have been additional individuals, because it says individuals, but one of those was John McGovern, who we know was incorrectly inputted into this. So just heed that warning. Methodology. Analysis is based on publicly disclosed IRS Form 990 filings, financial statements, schedules, confirmed audit letters, public posts and executives, and media lawsuit reports. Basically, that's just saying, look, all of this stuff that we're talking about, you can access this publicly yourself. This isn't stuff that's kind of come from nowhere. So let's look at the key metrics and trends. Decline in reported employees at Turning Point USA by 33% in 1 year, despite salary costs rising. Transfers to America's Turning Point peaked at 8.6 million in 2024 without corresponding transparency. So $8.6 million, poof. Let's go somewhere, but there's no real way of finding out exactly where that went. There's no transparency over it. We ignore this one. We come down here. Best practices include large undisclosed intra-entity transfers, Turning Point USA, to endowment, then to Action or PAC. Prior to 2021, donations funneled largely to the endowment. This shifted to America's Turning Point in recent years. Previous year's filings aligned with for all entities, but the 2024 missing filings began 4 months before the founder's murder and are unprecedented within the organizational record, which could have been the trigger for the audit, the Doe-style audit. And you have to now question why you wouldn't want these kind of things to be looked into and find out exactly what's going on, especially if you're a CEO. Anomalies with America's Turning Point's payroll practices compared to industry standards and non-profit transparency guidelines. Repeated recruitment and payments for contractors. They do use McGovern here as an example because he was a highly paid, the highest paid one. He wasn't the only one, but he was the highest paid one, and subsequently he's not part of this again, remember. Let's go down to here. Conclusions. The absence of required tax filings and lack of clarity around large inter-entity financial transfers obstructs both IRS oversight and donor scrutiny. Annual financial audits have failed to surface these red flags, either through negligence or oversight by Baker Tilly. Internal controls appeared lax, with high risk for collusion, fraud due to family members and potentially conflicted leaders occupying multiple sensitive roles. Executive compensation schemes for key individuals with substantial payments from multiple related organizations present not only ethical issues but likely legal violations regarding reporting and donor disclosure. The shifting narrative around post-murder leadership and cancelled audits undermines organizational integrity and increases the probability of deliberate concealment of malfeasance. The question here was, look, if this was hidden from Charlie Kirk, who was CEO, you're talking about people in the upper echelons of that business and beyond. How would you hide such things from the CEO? And it seems that the CEO had found out and was then wanting to have somebody look into it. A pattern emerges reminiscent of other high-profile financial mismanagement cases, paralleling problems encountered in both the non-profit and for-profit sectors. There's some recommendations that are pinged up, and it is to have an immediate forensic audit. An independent comprehensive forensic audit should be commissioned for all related entities, focusing on the last 3 fiscal years and on inter-entity transfers and compensation schemes. And then you can see some others on there: IRS and DOJ notification, internal control review, which is something that Charlie wanted to do, and seemingly that has been scrubbed. Donor communication, transparently inform donors about past financial handling, explaining the rationale for inter-entity transfers and corrective actions being undertaken. Review and public disclosure. The organization's new CEO, Erika Kirk, should address these issues publicly, explaining the disposition of major donations, particularly the missing $8.6 million, and commit to filing all overdue financial disclosures. There you go. And there are some other bits and pieces on here that I put together that I'll probably go through this on a live. Like I say, I do the work so you don't have to. But there's some quoted viewpoints and notable statements here that I just want to cover before we file out on the video. Doe-style audit is not the same as the annual financial audit, and everyone knows that. Someone at Turning Point decided not to file 3 of the 4 annual financial statements for 4 months before Charlie Kirk appointed the new COO, requested a new audit, and was murdered. How is America's Turning Point reporting millions of dollars of salary expense when they have no employees? If someone has lied on the 990 form, people go to jail for that. You cannot pay an employee a contract on the side through a shell company and not report any of it as compensation. All these problems suggest financial mismanagement at Turning Point USA, and from Charlie Kirk's memo, we know that he did not understand what was going on. The financial statement suggests that someone at the highest levels of Turning Point USA is stealing the donations. I don't understand why no one is looking into this. And there you go. At the end of the day, that's what we're saying. Again, the video did have a mistake. The video was removed. The mistake was John McGovern. Wrong John McGovern, but that doesn't take away the vast majority of what you listen to there. And that is that there are things that should be filed that aren't being filed. There is money that is seemingly currently missing. Where is it? We have a situation that leading up to his death, Charlie Kirk seemingly caught wind of something going on and requested an audit. And subsequently, in the aftermath of his death, that audit was cancelled and said that they would revert back to normal audits that are very, very different from what Charlie Kirk had requested to have done. And we have a new CEO who seemingly isn't as interested in where $8.6 million has fucked off to than her predecessor, who just happens to be her husband. So that again raises some eyebrows. Let me know down below what you think, and I shall catch you all in the next one. Mwah.